Welcome to She Sells Radio, my friend. This is a solo episode that I am bringing to you from my living room today. If you're watching the video, we have a new family member. It's not a baby. I didn't give birth again within 11 months. That would have been amazing and unpleasant. I know women have done that. Hats off to you. That shouldn't say it would have been unpleasant. It would have been a lot. We have a new dog baby. So she's behind me on the couch. It's been 7 months since we lost Mona, and then we lost Lucy just a few months before her. So last year was like a big year of doggy death and all the feelings that go with that. And I usually would have gone and been like, okay, we're getting another dog soon to help fill that hole. And this time I was like, I'm just gonna like sit with it. Plus, there was so much upheaval going on in our lives with unexpected move to Maine, which actually ties in with what we're talking about today, and just a lot of other, business growth and things going on. And I was like, you know what? We already have two mouths to feed and butts to wipe, so let's hold off on adding another for a while. And I'll tell just like a quick backstory before I share the real point of today's episode, which is about retiring your husband and what that, or your partner, I should say, and what that looks like if you choose to do that. But I'll share a quick dog background because, she's cute and she's laying on the couch, and a lot of the audience I know are dog lovers. So we really hadn't looked for a dog until maybe a month ago. And about a month ago, I was like, you know what? I feel ready. Like, I feel like we're settled enough in our new spot to go look. So we went to the shelter, met a really sweet dog that if it was just me, like solo batch in it, or me and Jason, would have been fine with. But he was a little iffy with Jack, our 3-year-old. And it's like, I'm not doing iffy dog energy. It's not worth it. So we left. We were non-attached to having to have a dog that day. And I think that's important. We teach that in our community, and that's a powerful tool when you're manifesting another level. Is just non-attachment. Like, the desire was a dog, but we were unattached to it has to happen like right now or in this way. So we left, but we were like, okay, we're starting the flow here. And then 2 days ago, this past Sunday, I was like, today, I just had a feeling today is a good day to go to the shelter and see if there's someone else. So we went to the shelter, and there were so many dogs there this time, like a ton. There was puppies. There was a line out the door for the puppies. I mean, it was crazy. But we ended up meeting this sweetheart, Maple. I keep wanting to call her Mabel, but it's Maple. She's laying behind me on the couch right now. She's a mama. Her babies are 6 months old, and she has such maternal energy with our boys, which I love. So she's a new member of the family, and you may see her lying on the couch behind me as I record, um, instead of the monster trucks, or maybe next to the monster trucks that Jack used to leave there, because she now lays on the couch all the time and he has to take his monster truck somewhere else. So things are always in flow and in progress in our lives, right? Let's get into what the actual point of today's episode is today. I'm just like having fun sharing my life on the show. Hopefully you at least get like a kick out of it. Let's talk about retiring your husband. So again, husband, partner. Sorry, I know just please know when I say husband, I mean partner. Um, the phrase that people often throw around is, I'm going to retire my husband. I'm going to retire my partner. Doesn't matter. If you have a vision for retiring your partner, let's talk about what this looks like, what it was like in our lives. Some things I'm going to share with you, the highlights, like the things that have been amazing. And I'm also going to be real with you and share the parts that have felt challenging, because it's another level of growth, and your relationship has to also be able to withstand that. And so we definitely have had some friction points in our relationship with it, and I think we've grown through it really beautifully and powerfully. But it's been a growth edge for both of us. And so I just want to share with you like what the journey has been like, what I would say to someone where this is a strong desire. And if you two want to set this intention as a couple, or maybe you secretly set the intention and then you bring to your partner the opportunity to stop doing what they're doing to do something greater, right? So I did have someone ask me the other day, she was like, what does it really mean to retire your husband or your partner anyway? And I thought, that's a good question because it's a phrase that gets thrown around, especially I think you hear it a lot in like the network marketing space, right? Like bring your partner home, retire them, because there's so many like power couples doing the thing there, which I love. But it may not be as common of an idea if you're, I don't know, I may be in an entrepreneur bubble. Maybe you're listening to this and you're in corporate or you're just not familiar with it. Basically, what it means is you start generating so much money that your family has options to do what you want on a high level. And if your partner is in a role, a job that he or she would really love to leave, maybe they want to start their own business, maybe they want to go back to school, like my husband did, that you have the ability financially to do that. And that's because you have allowed yourself to expand financially. And whether you go for a bigger role in corporate, whether whether you just like grow your business and create enough flow there that your partner can do it, whatever that looks like for you. These are all examples of what it could look like. So I did not set out intending to do this. I'll share a little of my backstory and then I'll share what's been great and what has been challenging, just so you can know ahead of time on your own journey. I did not set out with, I'm going to retire my husband and this is my strong intention. It kind of happened as a byproduct of other things I was focused on more in terms of personal growth. So when this happened for us, this was not quite 3 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago. And Jason at the time, my husband, when I met him, he was a night shift worker working as a respiratory therapist in a hospital and had been doing that for quite some time. Like he actually ended up doing that for 10 years before he quit a couple years ago. But so he'd been working night shift at a hospital, and that life is crazy. So for any of you, I know we've got listeners with partners in medicine, or maybe you yourself are in healthcare, like, oh my gosh, shout out, because it was being on totally different schedules too. If someone's night shift and someone's not, it's intense, it's hardcore. And we lived that life for years. We had finally gotten him on a day shift schedule. I think sometimes the details blur of the when and the what with this. So I'm just going to share with you from my best recollection. We had gotten him on a day shift schedule, I think. Yes, because I remember having a Thanksgiving where Jack was a couple months old and I was by myself during the day because he was working day shift at the hospital. Yes, that was right before this. Okay. So we had gotten him on day shift and that was better. And here's, he might tell the story differently than I would. There's also that he's not here to record with me today. I would normally like do an episode like this with him here so he could share his perspective, but he has been on the show a few times before, so you can go back and search for that. And he's usually quite a bit of comic relief on the show as well. But so have you ever had, I'm going to share with you a bit of like how it came about. Have you ever had just a knowing for your partner before they knew it, that there was something they were like meant to do or to be? So I remember this was, I think, about a year before he set the intention that he wanted to do something beyond what he was doing as an RT. And we were sitting outside on our patio at our home in Georgia. And I just knew there was something, like, not that like what he did as an RT was amazing and so important. So this is not me saying that. I could feel for him, there was a bigger calling that he had not stepped into and wasn't quite ready to step into yet. But he's an amazing healer. He has really great energy, and he also is aspirational and constantly seeking growth, and also very educated in both the medical side of things as well as the energy side of things, which just because of the path he and I have been down for years now. And I had really been like researching and studying integrative medicine and health. And I was like, babe, I could so see this. I just had a knowing. I was like, you're going to do this. You're going to become an integrative medicine physician. I don't remember if I said it that directly or not, but I was just like, I really feel this for you in a greater way. And we've been having conversations leading up to that about kind of the greater calling on his life. And he was feeling some stirrings to do more. So we had a lot of long walks in the hot summer Georgia heat talking about that. I remember that too. But I remember when I brought it, he was like, yeah, but he was resistant. And I just let it go. And it was about a year later that he was like, I'm gonna, I want to go to medical school. I'm ready to go. I want to go back and do this. And so he had really like set that intention and that vision. And the challenge for us was it didn't work with our life the way it was lined up at that point. He was still again working night shift at the hospital. But he set that intention and we're like, okay, let's follow the path. We knew enough at that point about manifesting and pointing our energy in the direction of what we wanted, even though we didn't know the how, that we started really setting that intention. And we had actually gone online and looked at what were the top DO schools. So doctor of osteopathic medicine, which is like a more holistic MD. It's a doctorate degree, but it's more holistic, which I like. And we had found the University of New England, and that was his first choice up in Maine. We were still in I think we were still in, yeah, we were still in Georgia at this point. So, but we started talking about it. We started, what would it be like to be there? And we started researching Maine. And I was like, I've been in the South my whole life. This is a very different environment. But I started to kind of fall in love with the area, what I was seeing online. So we set that intention. And then I'm not going to tell the whole story of like my financial quantum leap because I feel like I've talked about that a lot on the podcast in different episodes. You can go, I don't know, there's probably one about like my first six-figure month that you could research and find and hear that story. Cause I think I recorded that like pretty fresh off the first one. And it was like, I can't believe this is happening type of energy. And it's really fun, by the way. But that was, you can go hear that on another episode. In a nutshell, I decided to quit playing small in my life. I was reading, I'm going to pull it up. This book is actually right here because I was talking about it on a training the other day. The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, Bronnie Ware, which, oh my gosh, if you ever need a good butt kick to like just go live your life powerfully, read this book. But I've been reading that and I realized how much I was playing small in many areas of my life and how much I wasn't going for it, even though I was living a life that was good, but not great. It was like, I wasn't going for it. I was holding back. I wasn't aware of this, but subconsciously I was actually, because I didn't have enough money to do certain things that I wanted to do, like create more opportunities for my family, like invest more heavily in myself, like this and like that. I was holding back and I was playing it safe. And I was actually using money as an excuse in my life rather than as a tool. And I was just like, I'm done playing small. Made a number of choices that a lot of people would probably say, what are you doing? You're out of your mind. That's risky. Size of the risk determines the size of the reward. So I want you to remember that. But I invested like crazy in myself. I made a decision to change. And within 6 weeks of making that decision, I was able to turn my annual income into my monthly income. And it, I think like, how do I talk about what it even did in our relationship? It was crazy. It was crazy because suddenly we were in a very different reality. One important thing to know, though, is the shifts came first inside me before they manifested outside. So I'm going to speak to that in a second. This is part of why with our curriculum and our programs, whether it's 10K Club or 50K Club or private coaching, so much of the emphasis with our clients is on making the inner shifts first, seeing yourself as a woman who could retire her husband or a person who could retire their partner. Feeling worthy of the money you want because your level of income will never exceed your level of self-worth. So it has to happen inwardly first. And it did happen inwardly first in me. And he was supportive. So I'm grateful to that. So if you're listening to this, support your partner in their dreams and in what they want. That is critical, not just to the success of the dream, but also to the relationship. That's so important. I had to train that in myself. That wasn't my conditioning. And it's been transformational for our relationship. So when this happened, we were in a place where our first son, Jack, was maybe 5 months old, 6 months old, I think at the time, that I'm like really elevated financially. And Jason went part-time first. So we both knew he wanted to move on. We were clear. He was like already, I think, taking part-time classes that he would need to take for his pre-quals to even apply for medical school. So we were already on that path, even though we didn't know the how. We were taking the actions we knew we were taking the actions we could take at that point that we knew to take. So he went part-time. And then I don't remember how long it was, but it was shortly thereafter when we were like, we've got proof of concept of this in the business. Like this isn't going anywhere. It's not changing. Um, he put in his notice and we decided for him to quit because the level of income he was making, not that it wasn't beautiful and wonderful, and it was, but it didn't make a huge difference for us every month. And the time he had to spend to make that money was crazy. So, so when it happened, it was a really it was like a really cool shift, and also felt very natural because we've been doing the inner work for a while for this to like to set the stages for this. But I'll share what has been amazing and then what the challenges have been. So again, this has been maybe 2.5 years now that we've been living like this, and there's been ups, there's been downs, there's been like everything you could imagine. Overall, it's incredible. So I do want to encourage and affirm you, if this is a vision of yours, to be able to create that freedom for your family, which when I read intakes from women who are either going into our events or going into our programs, it's a very common thread. I want to create financial freedom and time freedom so that there's more options and choices for our family. I so feel that. And you can absolutely do this. If this is a goal, if this is a vision of yours, it's like anything else. By law, you stay focused on it. You focus on becoming the person who does this, and you'll do it. It's just a matter of time. So you can absolutely do it. Here's what have been some of the, you know what? I'm going to give the challenges first. Let me give the challenge. I was going to give the good first and then the challenges. I'm going to do the challenges first, and then I'm going to give you the good. And I'm going to tell you a few things that I would keep in mind if you plan to do this. Let's talk about what's been challenging first. I would say there were times when, and he would say, I'm not going to say anything on here that he wouldn't say too. So just know that, like, I'm very respectful of him in that way. There were times when it seemed like he was drifting a bit, where he was kind of undirected. Um, and that was, I think that was triggering to me. It was very triggering to me. So I got to have some personal growth through that too. And it was also just like, for him, like one of the things that we became aware of is like, he's a social person, but suddenly he went from being at his job around people all the time, like leading other people, to being home and being the primary caregiver for our son. And I think we thought that was going to feel more natural to him than it did. And he definitely bumped up against a lot of growth edges there too. Our first son is like a Leo. He's intense and I get him because I'm like, I understand you. You and I are wired very similarly. I'm not a Leo, but I'm like, I get him. And he and Jason are very different. So it was more challenging for him than we anticipated, but he would not like have a super solid plan for the day, or would be like in his PJs super late in the day. And I would be like, I've been up since 4 a.m. going for it, and I've exercised and I'm showered, and working from home, we would be like bumping up against each other like that all the time. So that was challenging. And I think he grew a lot over time with this. And he now is like super directed, super focused. On top of things, I also got to notice the parts of me that felt very triggered by him relaxing, or by him like not quote unquote being productive, while I felt like I was being very productive. And so I got to do some work on myself with that. But that was probably the biggest challenge. And then just the other thing I would say is like, there were times when things felt hard in the business, and then I would project that onto him, or I would have thoughts, even if I didn't say it out loud, I'd have thoughts of like, oh, well, if he was just working right now or supporting me, like I would love to just quit and have him support me and be a stay-at-home mom. Not that, like, that is not my dharma. I know that that's not what I'm here for, and massive respect to everyone where that is your purpose. My purpose is hybrid. My purpose is to be an amazing mom and also to create and run a really amazing company. But there were times when things felt hard where I was like, I'd like to just, not just, but I'd like to be a stay-at-home mom right now. I would like for him to provide for me. I would like to not have to figure this out this month. We're going to do this. And so I would project that onto him. So again, personal growth for both of us in big ways there. Let's talk about what's been amazing, and then I'm going to give you some tips. It has been, by like, in spite of some of the challenges and bumps in the road, to be able to have him around to be with the kids far more has been so valuable. Like the first couple years of the boys' lives, for him to be there, to be with them, really hands-on. I know that's going to pay dividends down the road for him and for them as well. Also, giving him the freedom to just pursue his dream. You know, he wasn't meant to stay as an RT. He was meant to go to school, go to medical school and become a doctor. And we're actively living that right now. We're living here in Maine. He got in a little over 6 months ago. So here we are. And there's more stories on the podcast about how we manifested med school and the med school that he wanted. Because that's been a trip and a ride. But he's now able to live his purpose and do the thing that he really wants to do because I was available to follow my calling. So it's always a double blessing. Sometimes women will be like, oh, well, what if I invest in myself and I put my family in financial ruin or this or that? It's like, no, like if you focus on that and develop a lot of energy towards that, is that a potential path you could go down if you really want to go there? Sure. I would highly encourage you, when you invest in yourself, you're like, it's a double blessing. And this is what I see happening. And this is the path that I would focus on, is when you invest in yourself, it elevates everyone in your family. It elevates and creates freedom and choices and options. We would not be living a fraction of the life we're living right now if I hadn't invested in myself with the intention of elevating life, not just for me, but for everyone around me. Okay, so that's really important. But giving him that freedom, and then just, gosh, time freedom as a family, like, oh my gosh, it's been amazing. The way, and I know everyone's scenario is different, but because I work from home, I work wherever I want, we have been able to really travel and do life. And he's been able to come with me to retreats I host and events I put on. And we bought an RV 2 years ago, which is crazy to me. My time hop showed me that it was 2 years ago. And I thought, how has this been a couple of years already? And just going on really fun trips, whether to the beach or the mountains. And I care so much about creating those memories for us and for our boys and for our family. And we can do it whenever we want. You just pick up on a Monday and go. So that has been amazing. We've really transformed our life and our lifestyle through this process. Here's what I would say in terms of what to know if you plan to do this. So I think the first thing, this is where we start with our clients on building the identity of who is the person who has the life that you want to live, because your results will never supersede your identity, right? So I'm going to like repeat that again and again for you to really get. So you have to believe you can do it. You have to believe you can do it. If it feels bigger than you, if it feels far off, if it feels hard, if it feels insurmountable, you're not ready, you're not there yet. And that's okay. But I would focus on becoming the woman who does this. So what is your identity? What is the identity of someone who does this? What are her thoughts? What are her feelings? And what are her actions? So that's some of the inner work. I would say also with your partner, have clear talks ahead of time. Here's how we're not going to navigate this situation. How are you planning? Just not like micromanaging, not being their boss. That's not good for a relationship. I've like dipped my toe in that water, and that's not helpful or productive for anyone. But just from an empowered couple standpoint, having clear talks ahead of time. So who's doing what? How are we going to navigate XYZ scenarios? Who does what for the household, in the finances? Because it's a partnership, right? So having that clarity ahead of time so that you're not standing there looking at a sink full of dishes while you also are maybe the financial provider for the family, and you're like, I've got to go prep for these meetings, and your partner's sitting on the couch snoring and you're feeling resentment. Like, know ahead of time, they're going to do the dishes at this time, or we're going to bring someone in to do the dishes, or I'm going to do it this time. But have clarity, have communication, and have a plan. Have transparency. I think that's so important. Again, transparency in your feelings, transparency in your goals, in your vision. I got to work out all of my old programming kinks in relationships through this. I got to work out judgment. I got to work out resentment. I got to work out fear. I got to work out all of it because it does shift when you are the provider for the family financially. Now, that's not the only way that the family needs providing for. But when you are the financial provider, if you're not used to being the only one who does that, then you get to do the inner work to feel secure and confident enough in yourself, in your relationship with source, wherever money comes from, to feel solid in this. Another thing, maybe two or three more things I would say. Make sure that you acknowledge both within yourself and to the person the ways in which they provide for you and how valuable that is. So this was a big shift for me, and I worked on this with, I think, maybe a couple of my mentors, or one of my mentors around the time when when we started changing our lives in this way. Was I hadn't recognized all the other ways that Jason provided for me, even though it wasn't financial. So one second, I'm taking a quick drink break, and then I'll tell you what I mean. So it's really important for men. So if your partner's a man, in empowered masculine, it's about protector provider energy, which is part of why for many men, it makes them feel really good to provide for the family financially. And this is not a blanket statement, but again, empowered masculine is provider protector energy. When he is no longer providing financially for the family, if there is not a mutual acknowledgement of other ways that he provides, then it can create a lot of resistance, insecurity, all of that, not good things in the relationship. So something I got very clear on and then appreciated in my partner was ways he provided for me outside of money. Emotional security was huge. Ways he took care of the boys, ways he would stay up at night to do things so I could sleep, ways he would protect the family in other ways. And so you feeling that within yourself and then expressing that to him is hugely important, hugely, hugely, hugely important. So find other ways in which he provides. And then I think gratitude and appreciation is so, I mean, gosh, isn't that the alchemy for everything? But with this, those times when I let it feel hard and those times when I let myself feel pressure financially, I wasn't in gratitude and I wasn't in appreciation. And I would allow myself to go sometimes into resentment or frustration. And what I've really learned is making money as a spiritual gift. Like some people are real, like I am good at making money. There's a lot of things I'm not good at. Trust. I'm good at making money. And there's a lot of people in our community who are as well. And very likely you may be as well if you're listening to this. And just accepting that as a spiritual gift and then being grateful that you get to be a channel that money comes through in the household. And again, having gratitude in that rather than resentment or bitterness is so important. And I've really cultivated the belief in myself that the more people who rely on me, and this applies to team, clients, family, the more people who rely on me, the bigger the pie needs to get so that everyone is provided for. So it's not like we're all sharing this pie that stays the same and is finite. But no, if I'm providing for more people, then more gets to flow in. And just because it's about becoming a bigger and more available channel for money to flow through. And gosh, thank you so much that I get to do this. So those are the things that I have so much more to say about this. I actually have a meeting in 3 minutes, so I'm going to wrap this here, but maybe I'll do a part 2 because there's more I could say here. But let me know if this answers your questions. Send me a DM on social. Let me know. Again, we get a lot of questions about this in the community, so I thought it would be a fun podcast to record. I will. So two things. So again, send me a DM and let me know, did it resonate? Do you have other questions? I want to know, is this a goal of yours? The other thing that I will share before I wrap here is currently I do have a couple of private coaching spots. So if this is resonating and you're like, I really want to elevate, and this is not the intention of this episode, but I do think it's appropriate to share here because this is the type of thing that my private coaching clients want to do often. So if you want that private support in really upscaling your life, your business, your career, and my approach resonates with you, then send me an email, elise@elisearcher.com, and my team will get back to you and talk with you about what it's like to work with me and what the application process is for that too. If you wanna do this, we're gonna do this thing together for you. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you, as always, for being a listener to She Sells Radio. Thank you so much for your time, for your energy, for your attention, for your heart. And I'm grateful for you, and I'll see you